Howdy, howdy. Welcome back. Hope you guys are doing well today. So, I want to get on here today and talk to you guys about the one sign that Christ told us we would know that his end is near, right? He said, "You'll know by the signs and the seasons." But I specifically want to dive into the book of Matthew with you guys today and kind of explain the process of what he meant by, he said, "You'll know the sign that the end is near," because it's very similar to birthing pains, right? But yes, let's go ahead and start at Matthew chapter 24, verse 3. Okay, now we have to understand, that Jesus is talking to his people here. He says in verse 3, it says, "While he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples approached him privately and said, 'Tell us when these things will happen, and what is the sign of your coming and the end of the age?'" Right? Jesus replied to them, he said, "Watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Messiah,' and they will deceive many. You're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars, and see that you are not alarmed, because these things must take place, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these events are the beginning of labor pains." Right? So what did he mean by this? I mean, you think about it right now, and I don't know if you guys have been paying attention lately, what's been going on with the media, with Gaza and Israel, and there's a bunch of distorted information out there, and I can't say that I know the truth 100% on that, but it looks pretty devastating. Those are nations at war. I mean, we just recently got over with the whole Ukraine thing. Earthquakes. I mean, just recently we had that terrible thing go on in North Carolina. I have family up there. That was just last year. It wasn't necessarily earthquake, but it was devastating. And our world is at this heightened state of distress because of sin, right? And Christ lets us know that these things are going to happen more regularly. And he said it's like birthing pains, right? So birthing pains, I have 3 children of my own, and when my wife was giving birth, we knew that it was close because there were labor pains going on. It was happening more infrequent, and out of it came life. So it's very similar, and it's a beautiful analogy, really, that Christ compared this to the birthing pains, because out of this whole process, once tribulation happens, stuff like that, life comes, right? Scripture tells us that those who are alive and remain will be caught up to meet the Lord in the air, and there shall be forever be with the Lord, right? But he compared it to birthing pains, and of course, nations have been at war since the beginning, right? But one dead giveaway that really lets me know that this is, we could be the people to see Christ return, is the fact that knowledge has increased. That's another sign that Scripture says is knowledge will be increased in the last days. In the book of Daniel, just a few short 100 years ago, how did you travel? By horseback, right? Maybe a little bit more than 100 years, but that's not a very long time. And now we can achieve those great distances by flight, right? Achieve great distances by flight. And so that right there, we didn't have that 100 years ago. We may have had the people at war and stuff like that, but comparing now that we have knowledge, we have war, and even in an increased value. I mean, we didn't have the tools that we have now that we had back, or we didn't have the tools now that we have back then to completely eradicate whole countries. And like I said, or whole cities, I'm sorry. And like I said, if you go and look at the stuff that's been going on in between Gaza and it, I mean, it's pretty crazy stuff. I mean, there's destruction going on, and whether it's propaganda, I don't know, but the fact remains, there's something uneasy about the time that we're living in. And let's look at the verse number 9, right? It says, "Then they will hand you over to be persecuted, and they will kill you. You will be hated by all nations by my name. Then many will fall away, betray one another, and hate one another. Many false prophets will rise up and deceive many, because lawlessness will multiply. The love of many will grow cold, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. This good news to the kingdom will be proclaimed in all the world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So let's take a look at a couple of things here. Just recently, the Charlie Kirk situation. That was a devastating situation. I made a video on it, obviously, but it affected me in such a way that I really cannot explain. And this is a great example about the love of many growing cold. I mean, I could tell you people I know personally that were cheering at the death of this man. And that is a perfect example of the love waxing cold, because if you have Christ in your heart, you will not rejoice over the death of anybody, because you understand that the end goal is to be in heaven together, right? And that is a perfect example of that. The girl on the train in North Carolina, her life was ended because of the color of her skin, that is another perfect example of the love of many waxing cold. And this is becoming in extreme amounts, similar like labor pains, right? Similar like birthing pains. And so this world is taking a turn to where it's looking pretty bad, right? And for me, I'm feeling at this point where I'm just like, I'm ready to go home, right? I'm ready to be with Jesus and not have to deal with the stresses of this world and the events that are going to take place, right? The tribulation. I've done videos on that, but we are a people that I feel genuinely could very well see Christ return, with the signs and the sun, the moon, and the stars. I mean, the other day, my wife got a picture of the sun, and they're saying right now that I think they said it was Venus next to the moon. But I think that is very well a clear indicator that that's a sign of the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the coming of the Son of Man. In verse 29, it says, immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not shed its light, the stars will fall from the sky, the powers of the heavens will be shaken, and the signs of the Son of Man will appear in the sky. And all the people of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with heaven in great glory. He will send out his angels with a loud trumpet. They will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the sky to the other. So, and what's interesting about this is, so many people hold this mindset like, oh yeah, this has been going on for a long time. This has been going on for a while now, right? In verse 36, it tells us here, right? It's very interesting. It says, now concerning the day and the no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, except the Father alone. As the days of Noah were, so the coming of the Son of Man be. For in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day Noah bore the ark. They didn't know until the flood came and swept them all away. This is the way the coming of the Son of Man will be, right? That's exactly how it was. They were living on with their daily normal lives. They were going through marrying, giving in marriage, eating, drinking, and doing the things that they typically do every single day. Then just what? The ark shut. It was done, and then that was it. And then they were scared. Then they were worried. But Noah preached that message to say, hey, the rain is coming. So the same message as you hear today for the people that say, oh, it's been going on for a while. I think you really should take a look at history. People are saying the whole Charlie Kirk situation makes him a martyr, and it's definitely changed the spectrum in our world, I guess. And I hope, I think you guys can agree with that. Something doesn't feel right, and I really, honestly, my theory is that that's the Lord putting it upon our hearts, saying, hey, I'll be there soon. Whether that's a few years from now. But I don't think that this is just no ordinary feeling, But yes, Matthew 24 warns us, man. We'll know by the signs and the seasons. And this world is increasingly wicked. It is very wicked. And for me, like I said, I've been in this weird state of mind lately where I'm just exhausted. I'm exhausted being here, and I just want to be on with the King of Kings, right? That makes sense. But yes, always be ready. We're living in a time now to where we can't waste time, and playing with sin and flirting with sin, because in the end, it's not what's going to save us, right? So, to me, do I believe we'll see Christ return? We could be. Scripture says no man knows the day or the hour. So if anyone's making dates and saying stuff like that, steer clear of that person, I would say. But yeah, with everything that's going on lately, it just proves to me that this world is almost at its end. So, love you guys, man. God bless, and I will see y'all next episode.